Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We all love our animals, and today we're going to give you some more insight into how you can connect better with your animal. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a bird, dog, cat, doesn't matter. And she's got that insight because she is the executive director of the Human Animal Connection. And she's back with us. Genie Joseph, welcome. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. Tell us about this organization. It's a nonprofit.
It's a nonprofit. Yeah, well, we bring therapy animals to people who need comfort and healing. So we have a high school program where we work with teenagers, and it's called Canines Teach Compassion. And I have to tell you, it's just amazing what a dog can do. I mean, sometimes teens, they don't want to talk about their problems, They don't want to tell an adult what they're feeling or what's bothering them, And the dog just bypasses that. The dog just touches their heart, just looks at them with those big eyes. And, the kids just melt and they open up and they get reconnected with their sense of joy again, which is, a lot of teens are under a lot of stress these days, and they really need something that helps. And our program, we actually reduce stress by 62% with just 1 hour of interaction.
I believe it. And my daughter, we have a lot going on in our lives. I adopted, now I have two in the last year, cats. And for the one purpose of enriching our lives together, but the stress reduction. And they're both wonderful. One in particular is the sweetest. And he knows, I know he knows, picks up on your energy and offers comfort and reduces stress. What is, how about some of these common questions I think a lot of people have? When you want to say something to your dog, maybe share some positivity, gratitude, appreciation. What is the most important thing you can ever say to your dog?
Good doggy. And of course, you're putting their name in. So my dog is Sophia. So I would say, good Sophia, I love you. And it's the tone of voice, it's the energy. And they can tell if you're faking it. So if you're in a bad mood and you can't be really, truly nice, don't even try. But they really sense when your energy is genuine. And it's not so much the words, but it's the intention behind it. And when I say to Sophia, good doggy, in that moment, I'm feeling her goodness. And when I'm feeling her goodness, she feels good. And then I feel good because she feels good. It's like a little circle of goodness, I call it. And, I look at her that way and her tail starts to wag and she gives me that soft little smile. And I just know that we're sharing a moment of goodness. And that's such a beautiful thing to do every day. As humans, sometimes we forget to say that to other humans, but with the animals, it's like, they're so cute. How could you not say that?
You know what somebody told me to say, and I try to practice this, like when I take, my dog's name is Tanner, and I'll take him to go to the bathroom. And honestly, sometimes I don't have enough time for him to, he wants to sniff and he wants to do his thing. And it's like, got to get out there and got to get to work. When he does something well, like he'll go to the bathroom. I've been told that you should say, thank you. Like, thank you, Tanner. Good job going to the bathroom. You're showing gratitude. And again, you're projecting that positive energy. It's not the words, but when you say thank you to somebody, you have an intent. You have an intention of showing your gratitude toward them or a dog. What are your thoughts on that? I'm curious.
Absolutely. They feel the energy, and that's why it's good to use the same word, whatever your gratitude word is, thank you or good doggy. The reason why we like good doggy is that we also, when we're working with the teens, we explain to them that they can feel good too by telling themselves the same message. So the next step is to say, good Genie, and you don't have to say it out loud if you're embarrassed, but just the feeling that your dog is good and you are good, the world is good. And this creates this energy, this like bubble of goodness that you both share. And that is why it's so powerful. So thank you is a wonderful word. Good doggy is a wonderful word, whatever word that you feel comfortable with, but just using it in the same tone of voice and the same way each time, the dog learns its meaning. And we do need to thank them. But can I tell you one thing about the sniffing on the walk? Maybe you know this already, but a lot of our listeners might not know. But
please,
okay. Well, a lot of people think sniffing equals like the dog misbehaving or not getting down to business or being a bad dog. I know you don't think that, but sniffing is actually one of the most important things that dogs can do, because what sniffing does is it resets their nervous system. Because when dogs put their nose first, meaning all their attention on what they're smelling, it calms down all of their other senses, their sight, their sound, which, I know you live in a big city, right? You live in New York, right? Is that right?
I'm a suburb of.
Okay. Okay.
So it's not like crazy city, but it's busy.
Okay. It's busy, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of stimulation. And when they need to kind of just kind of bring their level of stimulation down, and they put all their attention on their nose and they sniff something, it's very relaxing for them. And when we're working with shelter dogs that have been traumatized, they get their senses out of order. What I say out of order, meaning they get overly reactive to what they're hearing and what they're seeing. There's just so many senses in the shelter that they get too much of it. And they actually stop using their nose because they get overreactive to what they're hearing, the other dogs barking, people coming, the movement. And so to get them reoriented, I'll bring them a really stinky, delicious treat, like a piece of hot dog or a piece of cheese. And it gets them oriented towards their nose. So the sniff walk is actually your dog doing a meditation. So it's not your dog misbehaving or, trying to make you late for work, what I do with Sophia is not every walk is a sniff walk. Sometimes we just have to get to the car, we have to go. So some walks are just, sort of at my pace, but I try at least 1 or 2 walks a day to recognize that it's a sniff walk and to let her stop and sniff whenever she wants, however many times she wants, because I know that this is like the equivalent of you getting a massage. It just puts her in a calm and balanced state of mind because she's using her nose.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Because I thought it was more of a territorial thing where they're sniffing around, wait, another dog was here. Another dog was here. Wait, I got something over there. What do I got over here? I do realize that when they shake, let's say they walk in from the outside and they do, do the shake.
That little shake. Yeah.
Right. That they are shaking off the previous energy to transition into different energy.
Absolutely. That's absolutely correct. And it's not to say that they aren't picking up all that data, like the P-mail, right? They're getting information about who is there, what their health is, what their state of mind is, all that kind of stuff. So they're getting that data, but by putting their nose first, they are also creating that very balanced state for a dog. And they live in our human world, and sometimes they're subject to our human rhythms and styles, and the house is not the most, it has wonderful qualities, but they're missing other elements that they need, and that's that natural sniffing. The shaking is also very important because in nature, when you have a prey animal, an animal that's been chased, like say a little rabbit, a wild rabbit, which we have here in our yard, right? And what happens is that when the prey animal gets to safety, they'll do that little shake, like you see the dog do, like a 1, 2, 3, a real quick shake. And it's really wise because they're shaking off the stress chemistry, the adrenaline, the cortisol, and you have to move it out of your body. The only way to move it is by moving, and this is why exercise is good for humans. It's why running is good for dogs, because they're moving out the stress chemistry. So that little shake is a communication. If we're paying attention, it says to us, okay, something happened that the dog needed to shake off. It doesn't have to be some terrible thing. It could be simply something as simple as I didn't like that person, or you pulled too hard on the leash, or it could be anything. It doesn't have to be a major thing, but that little shake, I say that's when I say thank you. When Sophia or a shelter dog gives me a little shake, I say thank you, because they're telling me I'm resetting my system. I'm shaking out that tension or the stress or the unknown, and I'm getting back into my sense of confidence. So shaking, you never want to be worried when your dog shakes. You want to be happy and you want to say thank you.
I love it. It reminds me of the Taylor Swift song, Shake It Off. It's like the dog comes in, I'm going to shake it off. I always, till I learned more about this, I always thought it was they were just wanted their fur in a certain way. It's kind of what it looks like. But when you start looking at life, animals, people in terms of energy, that's where you start picking up on it. Right. I'm like super humble, but I feel that my energy is good around animals. And that's why every animal I've picked has been a win.
Oh,
I'm just saying that I got lucky, or it's, I know, I feel a certain energy. It's like, yep, that's the one. That's the cat. That's the dog. Because they all have the same loving, mushy temperament. Like I'll walk this one cat, Rocco. I'll walk in. I'll say, Rocco, come here. Give me a kiss, give me a kiss.
uh,
He'll
uh,
jump up on the counter and he'll
yeah.
give you a little kiss
Aw.
every
Yeah.
single time. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
and that's kind of like the other cats, very similar in terms of the mushiness.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Well, not all cats are like that. So
no, they're not.
yeah,
I
exactly.
know.
So it's more than luck. It is your animality. It is your animal nature connecting with their animal nature. And they recognize the animal in you as you recognize the being in them, that they're not just, moving stuffed toys. They really are beings that have feelings and
Mm.
opinions and thoughts and desires and love and fear and everything else that we humans have, slightly different because it's not as tied to the thinking process, but it's the same. It comes from the same nervous system. Our nervous systems are the same as animal systems. We have a thinking apparatus on top, that makes it more
Mm.
complex, but fundamentally our core nature is our animalness.
It's so cool too when you start realizing it and then you pay attention to it. Like I think I'm the guy when I walk down the street, animals turn and look at me like,
Yeah,
because
I
I
know
think
that
they're
guy.
picking up on the energy.
They
And
are.
it happened the other day, and it's basically, I even vibe to them. Hey, what's going
Uh-huh.
on?
I
And
do
then they
too.
look away.
Yeah.
I've heard this term before, purple dot
Yeah.
shelter dog,
Yeah.
animal, purple dot.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, some shelters have a color coded system that gives them kind of a rating for how challenging the dog might be. Like in our shelter, a green dot. I mean, like anybody could adopt that dog, a kid, an old person, easy walking, easy loving, already potty trained. They know everything. So we have these rating systems and we use colors so it's not neutral and the customers don't necessarily know what they're so they don't get overly concerned. But in our shelter, purple dot means only a staff person can walk this dog. So this is a dog with a lot of unpredictability, a
Oh,
lot of triggers that aren't known, high energy, prey drive, a lot of territorial energy, so it could be potentially leading to a bite. So there is this one dog. The shelter name was Canella, but we fostered her. We took her because we have a lot of methods that help dogs really recover from trauma. This is a dog that had been through, her first person died, her second person got arrested, so she was a stray and captured by animal control. So she'd had a really rough life, and she's only 3. And if we renamed her Lulu, we've been training her, working with her fear level. She has just extreme fear level. Like, when I left the house after 4 days of her being here, she broke 3 Venetian blinds, just ripped them to shreds in less than a minute, less than 30 seconds, just pure terror at me leaving, And so she's got a lot of issues that we're working on. And we're, I think, on day 8 now. And she's so much calmer. She's sleeping at my feet. You can't see her, but she is so cute. And that's one of the dangers, is that people would be tempted to adopt this dog just because she's so cute without really
wow.
understanding that she still has a lot of issues that she needs to heal before she's ready. So that's what we're doing. It's, of course, disrupted a little bit. We had 2 dogs in the house and they are completely peaceful and very calm. And in comes this, wild thing. And it's
Wow.
been a
Tasmanian
little
devil.
Tasmanian devil, basically. Yeah. She's so sweet. I mean, but she just has a lot of fear. And when her fear kicks in, she can't hear you, the person, or nothing you say is going to get to her because her brain's been hijacked by the fear. And at the shelter, they were very concerned that there would be a bite because they couldn't figure out what her triggers were. Triggers meaning like if a man walks in and she barks, that's a trigger, which we discovered when the handyman came, and she gave him the royal "I will kill you" treatment. And she didn't touch him,
Mm.
but it was pretty scary there for a moment, but it calmed down, and he's a dog person and he knew what to do. So he stayed very still. We gave him some instructions and got down lower and, talked in a softer, gentler voice. And within an hour, she was letting him hug her. So, this
Aw.
is, it's just so sweet. So we're hoping that we can get her ready for adoption. And because she's so adorable, we've had several people call, but I have to tell them the truth, that this is not a beginner dog, and so she's still with us. So we'll see. Maybe next show. I don't know if we'll still have her, but she's
Hmm.
adorable. I'll send you a picture.
What has there been something that she's teaching you?
Oh God, yes, because she is, I was, I wasn't sure that I knew what I was getting into. They make it's like 10 pages of reading her behavioral history and all this terrible stuff about her, right? I knew what I was getting into, and I wasn't quite sure that I wanted to disrupt the peace of our two dogs, because they have this beautiful little chemistry and everything is harmonious and they're very calm and happy. And I knew that it was going to be a disruption, but I also knew that she was going to stretch my heart. And she, especially when a dog is doing behavior that you don't want, like, pulling down your Venetian blinds, it's really easy to get mad and call that dog a bad dog, but it keeps reminding me to go back to what I know. When what I know is that all behavior is an attempt to feel safe or connected. And so in that moment, she's feeling the fear of disconnection. It's not that she's a bad dog. It's that her fear has hijacked her brain in that moment. And so it really asks me to stretch my capacity for love and forgiveness and for tenderness and for calmness. Because, and of course, one of the other things about her is she had very poor dog reading social skills, meaning that she didn't respond well to the other dogs giving her corrections, like, no, that's enough of butt sniffing, thank you very much. She didn't respond, and it would go to mounting and all this other stuff, even though she's been fixed. And she wasn't learning those things. And so the other dog, one of the dogs, the bigger dog, would just bark this ferocious bark, and you'd think most dogs would learn from one time, but she didn't learn from one time. So we had several rounds of that. And again, just having to, because it triggers our nervous systems. When the dogs are in their primal energy, it triggers our primal brain too. We go into that, that vigilance and that preparedness and that startledness and all that stuff. So it's a challenge to really love a dog that has that kind of behavior.
Yeah. What about animals teaching us? What can they show us about who we really are?
They can show us everything if we're listening. So, for example, I was running a few minutes behind for this interview, and I was kind of racing around to get ready. And the dogs looked at me like, "What are you doing? Just relax." And if I wasn't, alert to that signal that they were giving me, I might just think, oh, they're just looking at me. But no, they weren't just looking at me. They were watching me go through this sort of fast-paced moves and, just this kind of edgy energy that they don't like, because they like it much better when I'm calm and peaceful. So they have a lot to teach us, but they're not necessarily going to teach us in words, sit us down and make us take a test or something. They're going to show us through our observation of their behavior. So I'm watching Sophia to see, I can tell my stress level by looking at the way she's looking at me. And that's because we've been together for 7 years, so. And interestingly enough, Lulu, when dogs who are trained to work with people with PTSD, they learn to wake up a person having a nightmare. And Lulu, this dog who's 56 pounds and all wild fur, we're not allowed to give her a bath because they're so afraid that she's going to bite. If she gets a bite on her record, it's curtains, right? So we've got this big old fluffy, scruffy dog that hasn't had a bath. And she decided right away that she wanted to sleep in my bed next to me. And what was interesting,
I never thought of it that way, that you're protecting their reputation.
Yes.
By making sure that they don't bite somebody.
Exactly.
And it can happen, just get like, and it can be just like beep, a nip. And they could even say to themselves, I didn't mean to do that, but I did it.
I know.
But it would tarnish the record immediately.
Immediately. Immediately. Wow. It would immediately put them at risk. And so I forgot, what was I telling you about this? What was
we're connecting. How our animals connect us.
Oh, yeah. How would they teach us? Yeah. So about PTSD, that's what I was going to tell you. So one night, I guess it was about I was doing healing techniques with her all night long. The first night, she was a different dog the next day. There was a marked difference, but we still have a long way to go. But around the third night, I had a nightmare, as I do. And she woke me up. And I thought, oh, this is because she wasn't, even though she was sleeping with me, she wasn't like licking me and waking me up kind of thing. And she woke me up in the middle of this nightmare. And it was really helpful because I got to sort of look at the nightmare and process it. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. No training at all, And then it happened the second time. So here's this dog that is, quote unquote, wild and out of control with this level of sensitivity that's extraordinary. So she really can tell, when you look into her eyes, she really can tell your moods and your emotions. So I'm hoping that we can get her over the fear and perhaps even take her all the way through therapy dog training where she can help other people. But that's a long way ahead. So it's just one step at a time, literally one step at a time.
So you are all about connecting humans with animals. And I want to talk about your book in just a moment.
Yeah.
But do you feel that you can communicate with animals?
I do. I do. And, you know, it may be a little hard for some people to believe. I mean, most people who share their lives with an animal recognize that animals have emotions and that they kind of can read our emotions in varying degrees. But it's another step to say that we could talk to them the way you and I are talking right now. And that's what gets really exciting. Because when we communicate with an animal, they'll tell us what they need and what they're feeling and what's going on. And that's one of the things I'm just starting to do with Lulu, because we're going step by step. And, you know, it's just enough just to work on resetting our nervous system without introducing a whole lot of new experiences. So keeping it small. But that's where we're headed, is for her to tell me what she wants. And ultimately, when people come to possibly adopt her, I'm going to ask Lulu, I'm going to say, what do you think? You want to go home with this person? Because right now, of course, she's like Velcro to me. But, you know, we did bring two of our students over who are learning animal communication to work with her a little bit. And it was lovely. It was a lovely conversation.
And it's just what I said before. I feel that I can sort of communicate in some regards with animals, but the more, I think we all can.
Yes.
And it's been said that we all have intuition.
Right.
Some of us are better at it because we're more in tune with it, or we're able to block the other stuff out. And that's how we can plug into it. And same thing with animals. Why are they so good at reading energy? Because they're not worried about paying the mortgage, the electric bill, the car, this, that. All I got to worry about is just eating and enjoying life and sleeping and making their person, if you will, happy, because that's what they want to do. But I know that even when I walk in, my two cats are Ricky and Rocco, and if something's up or I'm in a bad mood or something going on, I know that they're looking, and I know that they're looking at each other like, hey, look at him, we got a problem with him. You know, they're picking up on it because they can do that. Tell us about your book.
Well, yeah. So my book, The Human Animal Connection, goes through the 33 principles that we are talking about here. And I just want to tell you one quick cat story, because we were working with a dog that it turned out she had adopted a difficult case and was working with a client, and lots of issues. And one of them was a prey drive, and she had two cats. And so this was not good, you know, because the dog would really startle the cats. And so we were trying all different things, working with the dog. And finally I said, well, you know, let's talk to the cats and see what they have to say. Because we were putting the cats in a protected tent and letting the dog walk around and sniff, but he was still being very kind of spooky and scary. And the cats said, it was so interesting. They said, well, we think it should be more fair. We should have the dog in a crate and let us walk around him. And it was such a beautiful, simple thing that we hadn't thought of. I don't know why we hadn't thought of it, but this cat told us how to make it more fair in the household. So
when you say the cat told us,
yes,
how did that? And we're just about out of time, but I got to hear.
Okay.
I got to hear the end here. How did you get that?
So I have learned, you know, it's a training, like learning any new language, that there's a channel that animals communicate on. It's like a radio station. You have to tune to their dial. And once you learn how to do it, you can sense and feel and hear. For me, it comes not like in a sentence like we're talking now. I get all of the information in a flash, almost like a picture. So, or a movie, you know what I mean? Like it's instant. I see the whole thing, not like a beginning of the sentence, end of the sentence, period. It's not like that, but it's all the information all at once. And that's very different from my other thought processes. So I've learned over time what it is. And, you know, different animals will communicate differently, and sometimes horses and dogs will communicate differently, but it's really fun. We'll spend a whole show just talking about that.
I would love to. And it sounds like you found a way to tune in to, you know, the animal. And I think I do that, but I don't know I'm doing it. You know,
you do it.
Not with efficiency. You know, when it works.
You do it naturally, and there's more to learn. So you could take that natural skill if you choose to and develop it. And then you could, you know, have your own business communicating with cats or dogs.
I just want to make them happy, and I just want to feel connected.
Of course.
I wish I could do that with humans too.
I know.
Like, you know, some people you just can't get through to them.
I know.
Your book, what's your book called again?
The Human Animal Connection, Deepening Relationships with Animals and Ourselves. And it's on Amazon. And we also have a podcast. So you can hear more about that on Pet Life Radio.
And the organization is, what's the website, the Human Animal Connection website?
It's make sure you put the in, it'll take you to the wrong place if you don't. So thehumananimalconnection.org. And if you would like to donate and support our work, there's a donate button. You can keep our programs going.
Love it. I got to tell you, Jeannie, always love talking with you. Learn so much and can't wait till next time. This has been great. Really was.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for being here and looking forward next time.
Yeah.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.